I've been hearing a lot of people overly excited about the new RIOT MMO. And look, is the potential there? Yes, of course it is. We're gonna watch this video, we're gonna discuss it, we're gonna talk about it. Is it gonna be good? Okay, let's just say this. I wish it would be good, don't get me wrong, I do. However, when was the last time an MMORPG was released and its 1.0 was actually good? Even though I know, yeah, Ghost Crawler is one of the devs, I think it's the lead dev actually, for this game, and he has experience in the field, and yada yada yada. Again, but there's never enough content in a new MMORPG to justify it. My one big home for this MMO is please keep faith to your cosmetics only payment model. Yeah, that's fine with me. Honestly, cosmetics only, max level boost after you maxed your level, game time with in-game gold. Oh, well, actually no. Let's scratch that. Let's just do a free to play. But yeah. My problem is like what are the characters gonna be? You know, it's not gonna be league champions. Like the league champions will probably be somewhere in the world, but it's like, you know. Anyways, let's watch the video and we'll talk about it as we go.
They were the peak of what developers could accomplish.
Yeah.
Even though looking back, that's a fairly subjective thing to say. Everyone knew MMOs had the power to create cult following, but also everyone knew making MMOs was hard. On average, an MMO has to spend at least 6 years in the baking before it can get anywhere near being
I would
good.
say 7.
But that didn't stop companies from jumping onto the bandwagon anyway. And soon we could
with how much content you need to bring out, forget world building and stuff like that, I think it should take like 7 to 8 years, not 6. I feel like 6 is just like... 6 is like what New World would have gotten to maybe develop swimming, you know?
Dozens of new MMOs, all releasing in 2008.
Yeah.
All being called the WoW killers.
Oh god.
Spoiler alert, none of them did that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
WoW is the only
we
WoW
feel the
killer.
ripple effects even now. It got to a point where every time a new MMO is announced, we all think the same thing. Oh. Anyway, when you're working on an MMO, you have to respect 3 pillars. Gameplay is king, social interactions matter, and the...
They do, but at the same time, not everywhere. Social interactions matter where they matter. Don't force social interactions everywhere. And also, most times people will, if people want to be social, they'll be social. But give them an environment to be social in. Don't put them in like a timed environment where everything is like pressured or like, you know, you're under constant threat. Then yeah, they're not gonna have much of a social interaction. I'd say Final Fantasy's best social interaction, at least for me, was Foundation, the Firmament, because that event that gives you the feats and whatever, and you can just like talk to people when you're done. You compete with people and like whatever. Like you don't have to compete, but you can, and it's like you have this enough downtime to just, you know, communicate with people. And let's be real, most of the people who go there, you usually like see a lot of familiar faces. So yeah, but I don't think you need to force this.
The world setting is important.
Yes.
When RIOT announced their MMO, it became clear that 2 of the pillars are being respected, and the 3rd one is already done.
Yeah, they already have world setting.
It is currently in the hands of Ghost Crawler, someone who's been working on WoW during its best times, and someone...
So is he a lead system designer there too, or what is he? It's just like he's the lead game dev, like is he Ian Azakostas in RIOT for this game?
Who got a reputation for hating boomkins and loving mages. When it comes to the social interaction...
I like this guy already. I mean, I don't like mages, but at least he hates boomkins, so I like this guy already.
It is a dance between the developers and the players.
Yeah.
The dev can guide players towards social interactions. Or they can annihilate them. And after that, the players usually find their own fun inside the MMO.
Yes.
From that point on, the devs should do everything in their power to support the players having fun in their own way.
Yes, but mostly they just need to give them the environment to do so. That would direct those players there.
And finally, when it comes to the world of an MMO, in Riot's case,
they already have
done.
it.
And
Yeah.
it's been finished for quite a few years now.
Yeah.
In fact, the world of Riot's MMO is in such a good state. They already have the continents, the zones, the cultures.
It's really cool that he actually recreated it in 3D on his own. But yeah, most of the story and like the world is already kind of there, right? If you've been playing League since beta, you know they had like these massive scrolls of text about each champion, and they also had this news release, like the newspaper, like once a month or something like that, where it had like stories about stuff the champions were doing in their quote-unquote life.
And the races. And to a lesser degree, every zone already has its own storyline.
Yep.
Now, of course, unless you follow the lore of
Zaun,
League of
right?
Legends,
Noxus, sorry, Noxus the War.
And that's why I decided to make this video.
Riven.
I want to show you all the
That's
zones we are
the
going to see in
thing.
the MMO
That's the
and
arcane
what
one.
sorts of quests we are going to do there. So, for the purpose of this video, I will
Tilt
assume
over.
you have no idea what League of Legends is about. You have no idea what the universe is about, but you like MMOs, your hairline is receding, and you have a crippling fear of Nintendo 64 controllers. To which, I might add, why do you think I'm wearing hats? But now, without further ado, let's have a look at all the zones in Riot.
Okay, it was a bold joke on Asmongold. Got it, got it. I'll have to watch the Asmongold part about that, see what he says.
Riot's MMO. This is Runeterra,
Yep.
the world of League of Legends. Right now, the world is separated into 10 main regions.
Shurima, that's where Cassian is from. Demacia and Noxus are constantly at war. Freljords is Anivia. Ionia is Irelia. That's the ninjas, right? That's like the eastern guys, so like Canon, I believe. Well, no, Canon is technically from who had the fuck, I forgot. I don't remember the place where all the midgets are. So I feel like that's where Canon is from. Like not the ninjas, but like the furries, like Gnar and Teemo, and I believe Canon are all from there. Ionia is what, Akali and Irelia types. Think Yasuo as well as Yone. I don't remember who's from Targon. Huh. Bilgewater is what is Misfortune, Gangplank. Shadow Isles, I am not sure. Ishtal, no idea. They don't have the Void Zone, right? No, he doesn't have it here, but there is a Void.
These 10 regions don't cover all the land on the map, so there are some mini zones in between them. And
Wait, who was Ionia?
regions don't cover all the land on the map, so there are some mini.
Yeah, Irelia, Akali, Kayn, those two, Ari. Yeah, okay.
Zones in between them.
Bilgewater, Misfortune, Gangplank. Really Fizz? Oh yeah, Fizz, I guess. Yeah, he's a fish, so. Okay.
And the lore already revealed
Oh, shout out to these guys. Okay, cool. Yep.
that there is gonna be enough.
Who is Ishtal? Oh, nature people. Okay, got it.
Other continent further to.
Shurima. Yeah, desert people. But the thing is, like, I believe Kassadin's supposed to be Shurima. Well, at least that's where he lost his daughter. Right? Because he was on an expedition, he was like an explorer or whatever. And his daughter got sucked into the void in Shurima. I believe, well, it was in the desert, so I'm assuming it was Shurima.
The east. That definitely.
Targon. Yeah, Tariq, Soraka. Yep.
Definitely sounds like a future expansion to me. In fact, it would be foolish to release all of these regions at launch. You can
I think it wouldn't be foolish to release them on launch. I don't see a reason why they like. Yeah, it shouldn't be foolish to release them all at launch. They also already have like. You shouldn't be making because like here's the thing, because these zones are already established in the game and they have characters that go into that game, people who would play this game because they love their character and their zone will be locked pending an expansion will not feel good about it. It's like, hey man, I want to go Shell Isles because that's where like my boy Hecarim was in, like that's his place. I want to see that place, right? But it's like you can't, it's an expansion. I feel like it should be released all together and they should build upon this rather than just remove stuff in order to make it available later, right? I'm not saying like beta and alpha should release all of them, like the demo for the game shouldn't have all of them, sure, but like I believe by far the game should have all of these. And also you forgot the Void Zone with Cho'Gath, Kog'Maw and all those guys.
You can easily turn half of these into separate expansions. And because a lot of people
just
already know and love these regions, the hype behind these expansions would be big. With that said, I know a lot of you would like to play as Shurimans or Ionians.
Yeah.
And now you may be cursing me for suggesting that these would be expansions.
Yeah.
But the lore can justify giving you these nations as playable races without having their regions. I'll show you how Riot can pull this off in a bit. First...
Yeah, but again, just because you can play the race, you want to go there too. It's not just playing the race. You also want to be there. Look at Guild Wars 2. The Guild Wars 2 map was, I believe, bigger than this. And starting zone for each race was their own starting zone, but they could go to any other place. And then they built on top of that. They added more and more and more. This is like 1.5 continents, really. This is like not even close to being the whole world, so...
Let's talk about the regions that MMO has to start with.
Yeah, let's go.
The Northern Continent.
Yep.
This entire continent is called Bellerin. Not Valorant, Bellerin.
Close enough.
And this is where the absolute core of this world is. The two main regions here are Demacia and Noxus. They are the two big rivals equivalent to the Horde and the Alliance. While I would like to say that Demacia is your classic normie human region, it's not really true. Runeterra doesn't really have a normal place. There is something cool happening in every region. And Demacia has racism. Okay, maybe not racism, because Demacia doesn't mind Yordles or Minotaurs, but they really hate mages. That's because in the past, their rivals...
But Lux is a mage, though. But she is Garen's sister, and Garen is like Jarvan 4's general.
Annihilated half of the world using magic. And so Demacia was built inside a magic-absorbing forest.
Yeah.
Therefore, Demacia is a really cool place where you can hide from magic. When it comes to the visuals of the zone, you can see a lot of lush fields, it is surrounded by mountains, but the iconic part of Demacia are the buildings. They are made of petricite, which is a combination of stone and the magic-absorbing wood. Because these ancient magic-absorbing trees were grey, all the buildings have a marble-like appearance. And yes, given what material they are using, all the buildings in Demacia also absorb magic. So should a mage visit this region, let's just say it's gonna be a painful experience. On top of this, let's not forget that Demacians can weaponize petricite. They can turn it into petricite steel, which gives you your classic anti-magic weapons, and you can sculpt petricite constructs which wake up after absorbing magic. Simply said, these guys just really don't like magic. The irony is, they've been absorbing it for years now. And this is where the story would kick in. You see, the Demacians are so afraid of magic, they founded the Mage Seeker Order. This is an order of people who hunt mages, they throw them into prison, and they torture them until their body gives up on magic. So yes, being a mage is a crime in Demacia. The thing is, people still get naturally born with magical abilities. You can't stop it from happening. So not only are there mages hiding in the royal court, right now there is a mage civil war happening in Demacia, where mages and people who don't hate mages rise up to fight for moral rights. So should we do some quests in this zone, this is gonna be the core story. Mages trying to overthrow racist leadership following old laws.
But still, Lux doesn't make sense then. I know, like, they showed that Lux was hiding, but it's like her brother is like the general or some shit like that. He's like Jarvan's like right-hand man.
So the main enemy NPCs might be mages and witches. But I know what you're thinking now, and don't worry. There will be plenty of boars to kill here too.
Oh, 100%.
Or at least there are loads of wolves here, as well as stags.
Yeah.
And we can't forget the iconic Demacian raptors. But further to the south, we might find some crag beasts, tiny woolly elephants, and yes, of course, in the Argent Mountains there are also dragons.
Yay.
Loads and loads of dragons.
Yeah, there are
But that's
dragons in
about it
this
for
game.
Demacia.
So
Fun fact, the capital city of Demacia is called the
Demacia.
Great City of Demacia.
Yeah.
Sounds dumb, but Runeterra was not the first one to come up with this. But thankfully the other regions are a bit more creative with their names. So now, let's move away from the normal region and let's have a look at the badass region, Noxus. If you're planning on playing a warrior with oversized weapons and overcompensating lush hair, this is the region for you.
Yeah.
This place actually has a long and badass history, but we really don't have the time to explain it now. So just know that originally it was built by the most badass warrior in...
Yeah, it's all about like the strongest rules, something like that, which is, and then Swain became the leader at some point because he was the strongest, which is like, give me a break, but whatever.
The history of Runeterra. This motherfucker literally died on a mountain of corpses.
Yeah,
And after he died, he was too angry to stay dead, so he just became the god of the underworld.
Yeah.
When this guy lived, he built the Immortal Bastion, which is to this day the largest structure on the entirety
Yeah, tell them who
Runeterra.
killed him though.
And currently he is banished underneath the Immortal Bastion, but only a few people know about it. So, you know, that's a future raid boss. Anyway, the Immortal Bastion is the capital city of the Noxian Empire, with Noxus being one of the most brutal nations in Runeterra. It is brutal because the nation is surrounded by rocky earth. It is hard to grow plants here. So Noxians are forced into conquering surrounding land for resources to survive.
Hey, makes sense.
That's why when you go to the map, you can notice that the Noxian territory is all over the place. It's because these are all the places Noxus has already conquered. Although, when I say it like that, you may imagine Noxus brutally raiding everything. But that's not true. They like to absorb the surrounding nations into their empire. After all, it's just more human resources.
Yeah.
Most of the time, they only remove...
Wait, LeBlanc was from Noxus? I remember that.
...royalty, and they let the leaderless people join their empire. And that's because Noxus values strength above all. And rulers tend to not be good fighters. This is what you can see in the After Victory cinematic. They killed the king because he was weak and let everyone else join them. Fun fact,
know what this is.
conquering nations is so iconic for Noxus, they have their own saying. Kill them until they are family. So when it comes to the quests in Noxus, it is most likely going to...
Yeah, that's definitely the race Asmongold's gonna play, that's for sure. Me, as someone who hates mages and stuff like that, I'll probably be Demacia. It is what it is.
...to be helping the Empire expand its territory. Although, this region has its own unique enemies too. Inside the Immortal Bastion, there is a cult known as the Black Rose. This cult is connected to the darkest of magics. So be ready to fight Hemomancers, witches, demons, and the Grey Legion, which is an army of soldiers revived with blood magic to fight for the Empire again. And when it comes to collecting 10 bear asses, here we have the native Drakehounds and Basilisks. Now, while Noxus and Demacia are the main rivals here, both of them are also constantly repelling raids from the north.
Yeah.
So now,
Vikings.
let's have a look at the Freljord. Just like pretty much any region on Runeterra, Freljord has a long history. But for the purpose of this video, just know that the maddening old gods known as the Watchers of the Void, who want to devour the entire reality only because it keeps waking them up, once tried to breach into reality here. They almost succeeded because they tricked the Ice Witch Lysandra into helping them. Fortunately, she realized how wrong she was, and she managed to freeze half of the kingdom with the Watchers still beneath them. So these days, the Ice Witch is the only person holding back the end of reality by keeping the Watchers frozen.
Okay.
So at some point in the future, you bet one of these woken up frozen watchers is gonna be a raid boss. Now, when it comes to the NPCs, this is where things get diverse. First of all, remember that the Freljord is brutally cruel. Everything is frozen,
Vikings, barbarians,
and survival is everything. So the first enemy here would be the wildlife. From Rhymefangs to Yetis to Druvasks to Elnuks to Mammoths to the worst of them all, Horrors. Next we are going to fight the Freljordians themselves. There are three main tribes here. The Avarosans, who are quite peaceful, the Wintersclaw, who are quite brutal, and the Frostguard, Lysandra's followers who hold back the Watchers. And let me tell you, these guys have some badass armor. Among the notable tribes there are also the Ursine, which are shamans who worship the Volibear, the primal god of the wild who slowly turns his worshippers into twisted animalistic monstrosities. Speaking of which, yes, there are also the primal gods of Freljord. And finally, we need to talk about the Iceborn. When the Watchers tried to arrive here, they tainted the ice around them. This special ice is called the True Ice. And it is so dangerous, you literally die if you touch it. However, the Watchers also tainted some people, giving them the ability to touch the ice. It is still extremely painful for them to hold a true ice weapon, but at least they can survive it. These people are known as the Iceborn. But people were not the only things that were tainted. There are also ice trolls, some of whom are also Iceborn. To be honest, these guys were made to have their own dungeon. But there are also some animals that were twisted by the Watchers. And
see, but this is my biggest problem, where it's like, where all the... who... how... what... when will you meet the champions from League of Legends, though? Would the MMO world be so far in the future that these champions no longer exist? Or like maybe just a few of them exist and the rest are dead? Right? Will we play at the current times of League of Legends, so it's like you would be able to meet these champions on certain quests or something like that? Would you help Kassadin finally beat the shit out of Malzahar? Right? It's like, what are the... you know, where are we going with all of this?
Lysandra is even twisting some beings herself to make them serve her. So overall, Freljord is gonna have a lot of cool warriors, shamans, and horrors.
Yeah.
So these would be the three regions on the main continent. But this place is actually so big it can easily make the base world of the game. Especially since there are a bunch of smaller regions.
But it's not enough. For an MMO right now, this is not enough. If this is all the stuff you're gonna get from a 1.0, it's not gonna be enough. Like straight up, it's just not enough. An MMO right today has to be released with so much fucking content to rival anything. Like, straight up, right now, WoW is probably the least content-driven MMO out there. And you won't even be able to compete with WoW, right? If we just talk straight-out content, Guild Wars 2 has way more content. Final Fantasy has way more content. Because, again, both of them have the dungeon raid and PvP aspects, but they have so much more outside of it, right? WoW doesn't have anything outside of that. Right? So any MMO that's going to be released that even wants to compete on like some level with the current top 3, oh god, the yawning just doesn't end. If it wants to compete with any of the top 3, or like even be relevant aside from like its fan base that's already exists, they have to put in a lot of fucking content out. A crazy amount, and be creative and like have something original to offer, right? Just 3 of these like nations and shit, just not gonna be enough.
In between them, there is Notmerge full of witches, Argent Mountains with their dragons, Tokugo with void monsters, Dalamore Plains with...
Again, so what's with these void monsters? They're supposed to be from the void, right? I know that some of them are supposed to be in the land, but it's like... that's an expansion right there, going into the Void Zone.
And so much more.
Who the fuck is that?
But from here, you can cleverly set up the expansions because of how
Why?
well everything is interconnected.
There's no need to.
So now, let's have a look at the continent to the east called Ionia.
I would say, let's say it like this. If max level is 60, 1 to 30 quest zone is going to be the war between those three three nations. Well, nations, Fairy Lords are not really nations, they're just like aggressors. And the war between Demacia and Noxus should be like 1 to level 30, kind of like introduction to the world, and then 30 to 60 should be like the other zones, Ionia and whatever, Piltover and all that stuff.
Ionia has a very close connection to Noxus.
Yeah.
You can only guess why. It's because Noxians once tried to conquer it all during an event simply called the Invasion of Ionia. This was a horrible war full of using children as soldiers because Noxians thought Ionians wouldn't fight back against children. And chemical weapons. Lots and lots of chemical weapons. Speaking of which, remember Singed from Arcane? He's the guy who chemically devastated Ionia. Eventually, Noxus failed, but they kept their small controlled territories. So the first quest here could be simply boarding a ship, sailing over, and exploring the place for the Noxian Empire. Now, when it comes to Ionia itself, the place gets mystical. Everything here is alive and connected to the spirit of nature. And I mean everything, from the animals to the people to the buildings. Everything is alive. So if you anger Mother Nature, your house can twist and strangle you in your sleep. So you can only imagine how Mother Nature fought against Nox.
Is Zyra a manifestation, or is Zyra the queen of nature then?
Usually a river came alive to drown them. That's why all the buildings here look like they were woven from wood. It's because they were. With nature magic, people let nature build their houses. It also means that sometimes your house can just walk away. When it comes to the NPCs here, obviously there is gonna be a lot of nature spirits. And a lot more of simply mystical animals. From giant flying tigers to the never-ending story. But be ready to also face local Ionians, blade masters, shadow cultists, murderers, and ninjas. Both good, bad, and the in-between. But finally, there is also one more enemy that we could face. The furries.
Yeah.
That's right. This race is known as the Vastaya. They are half
furries.
humans and half magical animals. And yes, canonically, the species was born in exactly the way you are thinking.
God.
But to be fair, the Vastaya are quite cool and they are definitely gonna be a playable race. Just like Yordles, who also like Ionia a lot. Lastly, after Noxians ravaged Mother Nature, demons started occupying all the places filled with misery and doubt. So that's gonna be a nice bonus enemy. So yes, the exploration of Ionia and the raid...
What is this animation? And these comics?
Shadow Order could be a really cool first expansion. But it's definitely not Riot's only option, because we can also go south to Piltover and...
There's no way they're not doing Ionia first, or not releasing it on release. I mean, the Land of the Furries? Come on, let's be real here for a second.
Dawn. These are the ones people will know about, simply because
from Arcane.
This is where Arcane took place. Piltover and Zaun are two massive cities located one above the other. And they are so massive they could easily be turned into their own playable zones. They are both focusing on futuristic technology powered up by magic of the Hextech gemstones. Using this magic, they can power up anything from guns to augmented limbs to vehicles. Visually, it is simply futuristic Victorian era. And unfortunately, there wouldn't be much of enemy variety. We would likely fight the rich houses of Piltover and their deadly assassins, with the occasional thief on the streets, corrupt wardens, and the occasional rogue steam golem. But things get a bit more interesting in the undercity known as Zaun. Zaun is the dirty underbelly covered in thick toxic smoke. Because the majority of people are poor here, they developed a cheaper alternative to Hextech called Chemtech. This artificial green stuff can power up cheaper limb replacements, as well as highly unstable weaponry. Zaun is also controlled by the Chem Barons, which are obviously gonna be the main enemy here. But on the side, we may also meet some chemical mutants, unstable constructs, as well as some mass murderers and people who hunt down mass murderers. And funnily enough, at the very bottom of Zone itself, there are the hidden ruins of an ancient city full of traps. That is obviously gonna be a cool dungeon. So yes, there is not much more that I can add here. Piltover and Zone
they nerfed by.
explored in Arcane. So if you like the series, you are gonna like this place. From here, we can travel further south to Shurima. Shurima used to be a massive empire that ruled the world. But after the emperor got betrayed by his best friend, the entire empire collapsed.
This was the Azir and Xerath thing, right? Azir was the emperor and Xerath killed him or something like that?
This region is a massive desert with the occasional city near a river.
No, I think Xerath is the one who killed Azir.
There is the Sun Disk, a colossal piece of star metal that has the power to reflect celestial magic. The Shurimans use this celestial magic to turn their best soldiers into the Ascended, also known as the Golden God
and Renekton.
However, these
so they changed Nasus and Renekton because they used to be like some. Nasus was like the defender of the library, but like it was like up in space or some shit like that. And Renekton is his brother, but yeah, whatever. I guess they changed it to Shurima.
That's because after the Emperor had died, the Ascended started fighting for leadership. And slowly, after learning how to use blood magic to gain the edge, they morphed their own bodies and became the Darkin. Twisted, blood-frenzied monsters that would certainly make really cool
that's where he's from.
Besides this ancient evil, Shurima is also full of its own animals, raiders, dune scavengers, and on top of all of that, void creatures. That's because to the south, there used to be a kingdom known as Icathia that wanted to destroy the Shuriman Empire. So
there's the void.
They asked the Watchers for help. You can imagine how that went. The Watchers sent through some void beasts that consumed Icathia and polluted Shurima to this day. To fight back the void, Shurima does have a lot of hidden
so they changed how the void was,
God warrior weapons. Not to mention that Shurima also has a circle of time mages who are trying to freeze the void in time. Now, as I mentioned near the beginning of the video, even if Shurima becomes an expansion, they can still easily make Shurimans a playable race because they are already connected to Noxus. As you can see, of course, Noxians already conquered part of Shurima, so some Shurimans are fighting for Noxus. Also, as a cool fact for those of you who liked Arcane, Hex Crystals are harvested in Shurima. That's why a Shuriman expansion would be a great follow-up to Piltover and Zone. And again, that's why Riot can easily turn only
I still don't agree that it should be an expansion.
World. Anyway, going west from Shurima, we arrive at Mount Targon. This place is incredibly unique. First of all, this mountain
connects to the stars or some shit.
It was literally pulled up from the ground by celestial gods. And that's because this place serves as a portal to the celestial realm, also known as Targon Prime. Now, because this mountain was pulled up, it also has some unique features. For example, you may find frozen lakes frozen horizontally on the mountain. And the very peak of the mountain is special too. Should a mortal reach the peak, despite the brutal climate and the deadly wildlife, either they die from exhaustion, or the celestial gods deem them worthy and they become an ascended aspect. There is aspect of war, aspect of the sun, aspect of the moon, aspect of the twilight, aspect of the guardian, and so on. Simply said, after people reach the peak, they become some of the strongest beings on the entire planet. So of course, the mountain is full of people who worship the celestial demigods. And I speculate this is where we could get a lot of cool armor sets. There are the Solari, who are devoted to the aspect of the sun. Then there are their rivals, the Lunari, who are devoted to the aspect of the moon. But also, the tribe I assume will become a playable class, the Warriors of Rakor. Of course, besides just humans, Targon also has all sorts of furry Vastaya. Near the bottom of the mountain, you may notice that the mountain is alive. But also there are Stellarcorns, a variety of mind-bending creatures, and loads of dragons. Speaking of which, remember that this place is linked to the celestial realm. So this is where we may also meet the star-forging celestial dragon Aurelian Soul, as well as all sorts of other celestial beings. A lot of these would make for interesting bosses. In fact, the ascension of Mount Targon would be a really cool raid. Next, on the other side of Shurima, there is Ishtal. This is a special place where people are mastering the elemental magic. They are using it for everything. Fishing, smithing, walking, and this place is definitely gonna be saved for an expansion. Basically, remember when Icathian asked the Watchers for help? And then that happened? Yeah. Ishtal was their neighbor, and after they saw the Void devour an entire kingdom, they believed the Void...
Is that quinoa up there? Goddamn quinoa.
Would soon devour the entire world.
Thick.
So, using their elemental magic, Ishtal built massive walls of plants around their entire region, isolating themselves from the rest of the world. For 3,500 years, Ishtal stayed isolated, believing that the world outside of their walls was devoured by the Void. But now, very recently, some mages found out that the world outside is completely fine. So now, the Ishtali mages are slowly revealing themselves. To be honest, Ishtal is the most underdeveloped region in Runeterra. We know the region has a lot of hunting vastaya, deadly plants, and some elemental dragons, but most of the region is still a mystery to us. So at least here, RIOT will have the freedom to try something new. But now, we leave the main continent to visit the last...
Wouldn't make more sense that it's like you release everything because everything is pretty much already known about it, and then the last zone that you would release, not even as an expansion, the last like end game zone for that classic release would be something like that. The max level zone would be that unknown area, if anything, leading up to the Void area, not to the Celestial fucking tower.
2 regions. First of all, there is Bilgewater. If you like pirate adventures, this is gonna be your place. This is where we are going to explore inns and gambling dens, even some local temples worshipping the god of motion, Nagake Boros. Here we are going to fight pirates and sea monsters, sea witches, sea vastaya, maybe some demons. And possibly we'll side with Sarah Fortune to fight the king of the pirates, Gangplank. But there's a lot more here. Last year, RIOT released their RPG, which was set in Bilgewater.
Yeah.
So not only can we already explore this place in detail, but
whatever it's called, sword or whatever.
Journal. And at a quick glance, you can already see some really
Blade of the King
cool
or something?
too.
Blade of the Ruined King.
However, this place is also linked to
Blade of the Ruined King. Jesus Christ, why can't I say that?
the last place I want to show you today.
Yeah.
The Shadow Isles.
Yeah.
See, every year the horrors of the Shadow Isles lurk out. And Bilgewater just happens to be the closest place. So every year, Bilgewater is fighting the undead. Once upon a
Hackerim is just gonna be a Halloween event for sure.
time, the Shadow Isles used to be the Blessed Isles, a rich place full of advanced magic. Long story short, there was a young asshole king who wanted to revive his dead queen, and in the process he accidentally released dark necromantic magic. This magic destroyed the island and made it home for undeath. In the lore, this event is called the Ruination, and because the RPG is called the Ruined King, it may not be a surprise to you that you also get to explore the Shadow Isles there.
Yeah, makes sense.
And there they have anything you can imagine. Undead horrors creeping everywhere. And should we ever venture into these islands, I have no idea whom we're going to fight. The Ruined King who caused all of this is banished elsewhere. Thresh, who siphoned his magic after he was banished.
Wait, so the Ruined King is, what's his name? Diego? Oh shit, that's... What a simp! Look what he did for a chick, idiot.
All of this is banished elsewhere. Thresh, who siphoned his magic after he was banished, also left the Isles. And even Hecarim, the most brutal soldier of them all, is currently around Demacia.
Yeah.
So the Shadow Isles don't currently have a main baddie. So this is where RIOT could push forward some of the side characters. Now, even though these have all been the regions that are currently set up on Runeterra, RIOT has already confirmed that there is a new continent further to the east. Currently, it is planned to be revealed in the upcoming Ruination Novel. And so far, we know that this new continent is where the Ruined King Viego is from. And this is also where he was banished at the end of his story. All we know about that place is that it is quite mystical. There are yet more dragons here, and in fact, Gamavor, which is the Ruined King's nation, has a lot of draconic armor. So should Riot run out of places to explore, don't worry, they can always make up more. But that's all I wanted to show you today. As someone who's been following the lore of League of Legends from the very beginning, I can tell you, I'm very confident the setting of Riot's MMO is gonna be great. Their incredible writers have been preparing the world for years now. And now, it's time to harvest the fruit. If you like this video...
I mean, yeah, I just don't see it being as an expansion. Yeah, the world is actually really rich, yeah. They've been building the world since League of Legends beta. And when was League of Legends released? When was it released? 2009. So 13 years the world has been in the making, and they remade a bunch of it as well as they kept going to make it more simple or like more understandable. Like for example, the Void used to be like just like a completely different place. Honestly, the south there, where is that map? Doesn't matter, but like the south where they opened the Void thing so that the Void invaded can be a portal to the Void Zone. So, you know.
So let me know in the comments below, because right now I still have 3 more topics that I could talk about.
My girl.
In regards to the MMO, I especially want to talk about the potential raid bosses we can face and the potential class.
Is that Rek'Sai?
We could play. And as someone who has collected an unholy amount of transmog, I would love to show you all the cool armor sets this universe has. But that's it for this video.
Olaf.
See you in 6 to 8 years when the MMO gets released.
Basically. Yeah. That's a good ending right there. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, 6 to 8 years for sure. Yeah, a really good video. Oh, it says right here, 2009. Gotta hope they nailed the MMO. I've always wanted to actually explore and be part of the world. Yes, that's actually what got people into WoW, because you play Warcraft 3 and you're like, man, I want to explore this world, and then boom, you got WoW, and it's like fucking fantastic. I don't think it will be expensive. I think they need to release all that content at once and just make it scale properly. How many dungeons for endgame? I would say 5 is a good number. I don't think you need 8 like WoW does it. I think 5 is a good number. 1 for each zone. Raid can have 1 massive raid and then raid bosses. Definitely gonna be Baron raids, just world boss Baron raids. There have to be, like, it's just gonna be iconic. And dragon raids, like fight all 4 dragons as a world boss. And that should scale every expansion, something like that, or change or something. I don't know how to say that, but yeah, they definitely have to add the Baron and the dragons as something that's like always kind of there. Like Saturday just spawns and you kill it over and over, or some shit like that. I don't know, but yeah, as far as that goes, that's the amount of content I'm expecting as minimum. The world is decently built. Yeah, what was the other point he made? Gameplay. Yeah, gameplay is gonna be the main one though. The gameplay here has to be good. I mean, and though to be fair, Riot has been very good with gameplay when it comes to League. I don't doubt Riot's gameplay ability, like coding for gameplay. Social interactions, I mean, it's gonna happen naturally. Like, they're so socially active, it's like revolting. The world setting is, they already have it. So again, but do I feel like it's gonna be a great MMO? Again, proof is in the pudding. 1.0s are never that good. So we'll live and see. Will I play it? Obviously, but I mean, obviously, in 6 to 8 years, like I might not even be alive at that point. Right, it's like, it's such a long time. It's like, you never know. Yeah, anyways, that's the video. This is Necrit. Give him a like. I would give him a sub, but I usually don't sub unless it's like multiple videos that I saw and I really like the content, so I'm not subbing yet. But yeah, give him a like, and yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the Riot MMO in a nutshell. What are your thoughts? Comment, subscribe, and all that YouTube stuff. But honestly, do you think 1.0 for the Riot MMO is gonna be good or not? I am not even. I'm looking at the fence. I'm not even on the fence. I'm looking at the fence still. Okay, so yeah, on to the next one. Peace out.